Did you think you could just go on and never once have to look back?
It's not actually so obvious the answer as to why I wanted to do this show, because it wasn't what is usually the criteria, which was, it was on the page. It was like so obvious, because actually it wasn't entirely on the page for me. I only got to see the first few episodes. I didn't get to see everything before I signed up. What sold me was the fact that although I was going to be playing essentially a housewife and a mother, which was my main concern, that I'd be playing it opposite Mahershala, and that was going to be inevitably a really complex, interesting characterization and relationship that we would develop. Nick, for whatever reasons, was really fixated and obsessed with what a self-actualizing woman looks like and how that impacts a marriage. And I think there must have been some kind of like personal growth in him, or evolution or experience, that meant that he was very interested in seeing how that sort of presents itself. So as a result, you're exploring a woman who, through over several decades, self-actualizes, and I think that that he has done a really exemplary job of sort of capturing some of the nuances and the specificities and the details of what that looks like from both the male and the female perspective. And then he also then casts someone like me, whose job it is to fill in the gaps. You know, it's not all got to be on the page. A lot of it comes from the actor, you know, in terms of just sort of setting the tone, setting the mood, and making sure that I imbue her with enough dimension that no one can accuse her of being non-dimensional. I came into it as an actress at times wanting to question some of the things that Nick had written, maybe sort of a little suspect of his male white perspective, maybe a little suspect that he wouldn't have got it right, so I could correct certain things. But actually, when I really sort of investigated certain choices with him, I realized that actually I was coming in with a very sort of 2018 feminist sort of post Time's Up sort of attitude that, you know, a woman would never have said that. And well, actually, no, my mum probably would have said that in 1980. Because at that point in time, even though she was trying to be self-actualizing and being more than just a mother and a housewife, I think there are certain things that women could say and do and get away with or behave like that even in themselves wasn't yet to be judged. And I think that Amelia gets to be that too in this piece, which I think is really exciting because she's really authentic to the time, which, you know, sometimes she's doing things that are really lame, like flirting with the policeman, you know, to get what she wants, even though she's an intellectual and has written a book and has clearly got sort of a degree of academia about her and cerebral capacity, but she's still willing to go to those places because she can, and no one's going to judge her for it because that's what women supposedly do to get what they want in 1980. So I don't know, there were just all kinds of things that were interesting to explore in both directions that surprised me even. Some of the references that I was pulling for who she was sort of aspiring to look like or dress like a little bit were some of the writers that may have come out of New York, you know, in the day, that might have been sort of full of sort of women's lib and so on. But in the end, she is in a small town where she has to fit in, even though she is other in the school that she works in, and particularly being mixed race. So what that looks like in a small town. But then she's more complicated even than that, because she's also had time to sort of explore and experiment in California, whatever that looked like. You know, that was part of the backstory that we sort of get a little inkling of. So she's of the world, she's in the world, she's experienced the world, but at the end of the day, she's from this very tiny little town, which is both familiar and comforting, I don't doubt, but also somewhat crippling of the level of ambition that she seems to possess.